And of course, Mr. Mattarella and myself, we remember that 8 years ago in early April there was a terrible earthquake in Aquila, and Russia immediately responded to this tragedy. From the very beginning, Russia has been providing the city with assistance in reconstruction of historical monuments. And the work on some of those monuments will be finalized in the near future. Also, we discussed the regional and global issues. We pointed out that the biggest threat to international stability today is terrorism, and we can only defeat it by joining the efforts of the entire international community. We mentioned ways to achieve peace in the Middle East. We talked about Syria. Of course, we also mentioned other problematic issues, including the Ukraine problem. Naturally, we also talked about the current state of relations between Russia and the European Union. We believe that it would serve the interests of both sides if Russia-EU contacts were rebuilt on the principles of mutual respect for each other's interests. I'm confident that these talks will contribute to developing friendship and cooperation between our countries. Once again, I would like to thank Italian President Sergio Mattarella for accepting our invitation and coming to Moscow with this visit. Thank you. I'm very grateful to President Putin for his sincere words about Italy, for the warm welcome that our delegation received here. This visit will help us continue our dialogue on the key issues of our bilateral agenda in various areas, and also on the most pressing issues on the international agenda. I would like to tell President Putin and the Russian people, I would like to express my deepest condolences on behalf of myself and on behalf of our entire country because of the terrible terrorist attack that happened in St. Petersburg metro. This is another indication that we need closer cooperation between different countries to oppose terrorism together. We see positive developments in our bilateral ties. Our relationship is based on mutual respect. We have frequent political contacts, deep economic ties, energy ties, which Mr. President has just mentioned. We have cultural exchange and innovative contacts. Specifically, I would like to mention that we have extended our agreement on scientific cooperation between the National Nuclear Physics Institute and Nuclear Research Institute at Dubna. Culture has also been a strong link that traditionally brought Russians and Italians together, especially younger generations. Younger generations, their self-expression, their creativity, this is an important investment, and this can have a very positive effect. Another expression of this cultural sensitivity is Russia's assistance in rebuilding Aquila. We also talked about international crises at different places, polarization trends at talks motivate us to identify exactly the choices that we have to make and create opportunities for dialogue. When we talked about Libya, Italy believes that a military operation was the wrong choice, and the UN resolution is a lawful framework for necessary steps. We count on Russia's constructive position now to Syria. The tragic event that happened last week indicates that we need to come up with a common solution to the crisis as soon as possible. We need a dialogue at all levels. We need dialogue between different parties in Syria. We need dialogue between regional players, and we need the dialogue within the international community. We need to work together to come up with a political solution under the aegis of the UN as part of the Geneva process. This is our debt to hundreds of thousands of Syrian people, millions of refugees. The use of chemical weapons prohibited by the Geneva Convention is unacceptable, of course. We hope that Moscow can use its leverage, its influence with the Syrian government to make sure that such attacks never happen again. And we need to establish the truth, whose fault this was, and we need to punish those people. We hope that because of this incident, all the players will do their best now to overcome the current unacceptable situation. Italy is ready to play its part and to join the efforts being taken by the EU and also in the UN Security Council. Of course, we also discussed the situation in Ukraine. Italy is very much concerned with the lack of progress at the political level. We believe that neither Russia nor Europe nor Ukraine can benefit from this situation. This kind of prolonged instability at the heart of Europe. So we really appreciate the important role played by the OSCE, and we express our trust and hope for the Normandy 4 talks and the Minsk talks, and we hope that Russia will use its influence to strengthen the truce and de-escalate the conflict. I'm very thankful to President Putin for his warm welcome. I'm very thankful to him, and I wish him the best of luck. Is there a threat that the US may repeat airstrikes against Syria? We discussed the situation with Mr. President, and I told him that when there was a case in the past when the US demonstrated weapons of mass destruction supposedly found in Iraq, and then they launched a military operation against Iraq, and eventually the country disintegrated, and this all led to the emergence of ISIS. And the same thing is happening today once again. You know, I recall what the Russian author said. It's so boring, we've seen this all before. Why does this happen? Everybody is eager to rebuild their relations with the West. After the former US administration, many EU countries assumed anti-Trump position, and they have found a common enemy in Syria. So we can wait, but we would like to see some positive trend eventually. And again, within the US, they have their own reasons for domestic consumption there. political opponents of the incumbent president are still there, and if something happens, they will blame it all on him. They will blame it all on President Trump. I have no doubt about that. Now, you asked whether new airstrikes are possible. We have intelligence showing that such provocations, and I don't have any other words, such provocations may happen in other parts of Syria as well, including southern territories south of Damascus. They plan to use some substances and then accuse the Syrian government of using those chemicals. We believe every incident should be properly investigated, so we plan to contact the UN institution at The Hague, and we urge the international community to investigate the incident. And then, based on this investigation, the outcome of this investigation, a proper decision has to be made.